Welcome to our talk. Thank you so much for hanging around. It is an honor to get to be here with you guys today. Have you enjoyed the festival? Me too. It's been really awesome. I'm curious because I've talked to a lot of people from a lot of different areas, many different climates. How many of you is that weather really wild to? Really foreign, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, my friend Leah is here from California, and she was like, "Yeah, we don't ever even see rain in summer, so that's really pretty normal for us." It's still, I'll tell you, that's probably the most uneasy I've felt in a storm in a very long time. I'm usually so unbothered by them, but usually I know where my kids are, so that's definitely an unsettling feeling.
I mean, usually we're not hiding underneath a canopy that's being blown up by the wind.
Also a true statement. Still worth it though, still worth it to be here with you all today. You've blessed us tremendously by coming and speaking with us and sharing your hearts with us. I share this every time I stand on a stage. It's humbling to see all your faces because it really makes it real what we do. I really do think we have just the most cool and blessed life that I could have possibly imagined. It is truly infinitely more than anything I ever dreamed of because I essentially get to live my dream life with my family. I work alongside my husband. I get to raise my children and do all the things that I love doing the most. And I just get to share it with people. And that is enough. Like what happens in my home is enough for me to feel like my socks are just blessed off. It's all I dreamed of. But you guys are totally the infinitely more part of that. Because in asking the Lord to make all those dreams come true for me, to walk through a garden and milk animals and really get to love the earth and love my family, man, I didn't even know to ask for you. So thank you for being here and for sharing your heart with me. It matters to me more than I could possibly say.
You're good.
You didn't have anything to say. All right, so.
Look.
All right. Okay, so this talk, we want to talk to you about resilience. When I needed to turn in the name for my talk, I turned it in late. Now that's why it's not written on your program. Now you know what kind of student I am. I told you guys I was never a good one when it came to books or writing things down, but I can grow good tomatoes, so that's helped. But I named this talk 5 points of layering resilience in your life. And this is something that I didn't know was a life work for me until I realized that we had been doing the work of living this life. And I began talking about resilience to people, and it came upon really getting a lot of healing in my heart that I begun understanding, wow, I have so much more resilience than I had previously, because I used to would have considered myself fairly fragile in a lot of ways and breakable in a lot of ways. And the more that I've layered resilience in my life, the more I find myself wanting to talk about it to other people. So what resilience is will you move this back up just a smidge? Like a few smidge. Yeah, over there. Yeah, thank you.
Not enough smidgets.
That's, I think, appropriate amount of smidges. Thank you very much. So resilience is, when people hear that, they may think that it's toughness, that it's hardness, because resilience is your ability to withstand. But it's not just your ability to withstand trial or trouble or strain or pressure. Resilience is your ability to withstand trial or trouble or strain or pressure and hold your form. Okay? It's how much can you go through and stay true to yourself, to stay who you are, to be unbroken by it. I like to think about elastic. And if you take like a really strong band of elastic and you pull it with a lot of pressure, it can give a lot of stretch. But when you let it go and you remove that energy of a pull, it comes back to the form that it was. And that is what resilience actually is. And resilience is something that when we talk about self-sufficiency, when we talk about sustainability, when we talk about I don't want to be dependent on the grocery store. When we talk about, I don't want to be dependent on governments. I don't want to be dependent on other people. I want to take care of myself and my family's needs. What you need for that is, yes, you need skills. Yes, you need some grit. Yes, you need a strong will. But overall, all of these things, what they are is resilience. And it requires resilience in order to do any of those things. Because let's say that there's never any sort of fallout. I don't like to prep and plan for fallout. I like to thrive and live a good life today, no matter what's happening in the world outside. I want to live for what's happening under my roof, and I want that to be strong all the time. I want the form of what I'm building to be healthy and whole and strong. And I talked to him about this in my talk yesterday, but that is so important to me. But I think it would be very foolish to live in the world we live in and be aware of brokenness and threat and upheaval and, constant potential issues. And then we've lived through some things, like we've lived through things like COVID as a overall people, over us on the East Coast. We've lived through things like Hurricane Helene, with varying ranges of how hard that was for people. But all of these things require resilience. And it isn't just a matter of living through it, it's living through it as you are. So what a lot of people think you need if you're going to be resilient, and they think you need to be hard, and they think you need to be tough. But actually, that is not resilient. Hardening yourself is not making you able to withstand while still holding your form. I hope you haven't done this. I actually have done this, and it was an expensive mistake to make. Have you ever put a really hot pan on a granite countertop? Was that granite? I did do that, yeah.
I know, I said not good.
He fixed it. So, I did do that, and I broke our granite countertop because that granite, which is one of the hardest
substances on
earth, it was not resilient to the heat and the conductivity of that pan, and it cracked.
And that decision snowballed very quickly to gutting the whole kitchen. And then that snowballed even further, where we ended up gutting the whole family room and the house for both Nathan and Jill. I do remember this conversation. She said, "How did we get here?" I said, "Well, what happened was I put the pan on the granite. And now the house is remodeled." So that is what happened, and it's a good example of resilience. Don't be granite.
Don't be granite unless you want a remodel. So, but don't be granite. It's a mistake to think that you need to become unyielding in order to be resilient, because actually, what won't bend breaks.
Correct.
So, what you actually need, and how I view it, is you need layers. Okay, you don't need to be some solid, hard, unyielding thing. And I've stepped into so many spaces since I got into preparedness, and for the longest time, what I witnessed in those spaces made me say, I'm not a prepper. I'm not a prepper. Please don't think I'm a prepper. Because what I witnessed in those spaces was so much hardness and so much unyielding strength that really is just the exterior over weakness. And I thought, these people are not prepared for anything. These people are so stuck in their minds that they think that they are tough. But in actuality, this is not what makes us resilient. Because I don't want to be just tough. I want to be strong. And those are very, very different things.
So a lot of times how that is depicted to us, let's say through a show or a movie, there's so many apocalyptic situation movies out, right? And how it's always depicted is like the tough guy that's got the stuff. He completely, it's like, what were you before? I was a teacher, now I'll kill you for my food. You know what I'm saying? I'll protect my food. And it's like, he's completely and what they are showing you, or what they're telling you have to do, is that you have to harden up, you have to lock down, you have to be willing to do things that you would never do in order to survive or to thrive, right? I'm not saying that, if we get into that situation, you're gonna have to make that choice. Someone's trying to take your food or whatever. I'm not saying that those situations might not arise in a crisis situation, but if you lose yourself in the process, what what's the point? What is the point of having all the food? If by the end of it, like, you're not even who you were, and you don't even know how to get back there. Like, and I think that they depict that to us, that is the way. If you want to survive, you better harden up and do whatever it is you have to do, and if you lose yourself, well, at least you're breathing.
And I think that I personally believe that that's a foolish Hollywood picture of what it means to be prepared so that people will blow it off and be okay in a consumeristic society that keeps them focused on their wants and their needs right now, or their desires. And it will keep us from thinking, with all the things we're going to talk about, if we think, oh, that's the idea of being resilient. And it's not. That is not strength. And so what I view resilience as, and what I have come to, what we practice as far as wanting to be resilient people, and it's not just for the kind of apocalyptic situations you see in movies. I mean, that is the unlikely thing. But when you go through something like a hurricane, and all of a sudden you have no power for 8 days, and your community, you have all these people making these posts on social media, I did not realize. It was mind-boggling. Our local police department had to actually issue a statement saying, "Stop calling us. We know you don't have power." South Carolina had 2 million people without power for days, but people were not prepared. So what I'm talking about is the resilience that carries you through the freak things like the hurricane, but also the resilience that carries you through the job loss, the resilience that carries you through the sickness, the resilience that creates margin in your life, that you can enjoy your life and not live in survival mode. I talked a lot about survival mode yesterday. And so what I view resilience as is I view it by layering a piece of paper on top of piece of paper on top of piece of paper. So if I hold up one sheet of paper to Jeremiah and I say, hey, punch your fist through this piece of paper. I got my grip on it. Obviously his fist is going straight through. But if I were to hold up an entire ream of paper...
2 reams. I can punch through one. I watched Bruce Lee movies growing up. I'm ready. 1-inch punch. Okay. I do this all the time.
I live with this all the time. If I hold up a very large, thick amount of paper, this very strong man to punch through it, and he would hesitate. There's a certain amount of that he would hesitate because he would know, I'm never going to make it through that.
Because it flexes.
Well, the flexing,
That's what I'm saying.
but also the thickness, you're never going to make it through that.
All right, but you see, like, for example, like, there are martial art people who train to punch through very hard things. Cinder blocks, wood, bricks, whatever. Right? They will never punch through a ream of paper because it is not rigid enough to get punched through. Yeah. It will flex. It will absorb the hit and it will distribute it. And you'll never okay, I don't want to say never. There's probably some monk that knows how to do some punch that we've never seen that literally just cuts through paper. But outside of that guy, it's not going to happen.
And what we have the opportunity to do when we commit ourselves to layering resilience in our life is that we recognize that all of our efforts are just adding another piece of paper to the stack. And what that does is it validates all the little things that you can do. If you are committed to layering resilience, you're never going to feel stuck. You're never going to feel hopeless. You're never going to feel like your efforts are a waste. I have people come up to me all the time and they're like, oh, we're not doing that much. We just have chickens and we just have goats and I don't have a big garden like yours. I just have a 40-foot by 40-foot garden. There is no just. Every single piece of paper is actually extremely valid. And what do you do when you look at the ream of paper and it's absorbing the impact of an issue, of a trial, if it's absorbing the pressure of something coming at you and your family, a struggle that you're going to have to live through, which ones are you going to look at and be like, well, let's just take the ones that we think are unimportant out? No, you're going to want every single one. And it empowers us whenever we realize that all our efforts are building the resilience that we want to have in our life.
And that could be a lot of different things. It's your personal growth, it's dealing with yourself, making sure that you can stay present, like Jessica's saying, getting your kids prepared. Like when we lost power, we didn't have a single complaint. I mean, they went from kids with TV and AC to, well, how are we going to have water? And they're just like, okay, let's do this. And like they're playing card games by candlelight. You know, Papa T, our neighbor, you know, we were cooking one big pot of chicken rice soup and eating together as a community. He had a gas-powered hot water heater, instant hot water heater, so we powered it with a generator, got to take hot showers together. You know what I'm saying? Like, we worked together, not together. But I mean, we all just stood there in like line, like one went through and then the next one went through, like, you know. And I'll tell you right now, after 4 days, like, that was life. That was life.
You're jumping my own lights out.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. So yeah, we get these layers and they're important. So have you guys ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger chart? Well, you may have heard it if you listen to me, I talk about this. This is the part where if I was at all technologically savvy, it would show up on the screen, but I'm not. So I'm gonna like draw it in the air for you, okay? So the Dunning-Kruger effect is a study shown to show how people respond in confidence to their own competence in an issue, okay? So the way the chart goes is that your confidence is measured this way, and your competence is measured this way. And if you start over here, you have no competence, meaning you don't have knowledge, you don't have skills, you don't know anything about the issue at hand, or the trade, or whatever it is we're talking about. Therefore, you have no confidence, okay? But then when you learn a little bit, you move a little bit down the competence scale, you get a little bit of information and a little bit of knowledge, your confidence soars all the way up to the top. And then what happens is you learn more, and your confidence dives all the way down. Because this is the point where you realize how much you don't know. Like here you know nothing, here you know something. When you're like, wow, I know something, that's more than nothing, I feel great. And then here you know all the things you don't know. You know enough to realize how little you know. This is called now stupid. Really, that's actually what we call it. And then this is called the pit of despair, okay? And then what happens is that there is then a slow rise, whereas this is a spike. I know something. And this is where you'll talk to people who really like will talk as if they're experts, but it's obvious to experts that they're not. And that's why they call it now stupid. This is where people start being very condescending because they feel like they've got it all figured out. But then you learn more and you hit the pit of despair. Okay, and then there becomes this slow rise where your confidence slowly rises and your competence also slowly rises. And this is where you become a master of something. And when you get to the point at the end, you actually don't have as much confidence as you had on Mount Stupid. You have a pretty good amount of confidence and you are very competent in something. And what they say is that when you ask the expert to explain their field, they usually say it's complicated. Because they recognize that it is. Hold on one second. Yes, Mom. Competent means how much skills that you have. Like if you are able to do something because you are skilled. Like that is competent in building things. You're very competent in baseball. That's a great example. So confidence and competence, and it comes with as you learn. So I want to encourage you that whenever you're learning something that you're becoming passionate about and you hit despair, that's just part of the process of learning. Actually, despair is evidence that you are growing in competence. Realizing how much you don't know is evidence that you are growing in competence. And though you may be like, man, I used to feel so much better about this, I want to assure you, your ream of paper was thinner when you felt better about it. But when you are working through the, oh my gosh, there's just so much that I haven't conquered yet, your ream of paper is thicker than you may realize. And just because you're not feeling that competence doesn't mean it's not there. You are layering resilience at that point. You have to keep pushing through it and gaining these skills. And really, here's the beautiful thing. What happens when you become the expert and when you really, really get the information, here's what you realize. There's what you know, and then there's what you don't know. But then you accept the fact that there's so much in the world and so much that there is to learn that you realize there's a bunch of stuff that I don't even know that I don't know. And if we are still down on ourselves and shying away from growth and learning as students and valuing each piece of paper that we put on the stack, we won't view that as an invitation. We'll view it as a threat and a definition of us in a negative way. The fact that there's so much that I don't even know that I'm ignorant of, that there's so much more to still discover for me, is a thrilling invitation. And so if you are looking to constantly layer every single piece of paper on the stack, it is an invitation into eternal growth. It's just going to keep going.
Just good. Yeah. Much more?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's me. That's fine. All right, so first piece. So you said 5, steps to layering resilience. First step is thinking with longevity. So I kind of touched on this a little bit in my talk when I was talking about laying out your farm, setting up your plan, like what are you wanting to accomplish, what are your goals? Someone came and asked me, like, how do you decide what to do next? I'm like, well, what are your goals? Like, what do you want to do? He's like, well, we haven't really talked about that, so that might be why you're having a hard time figuring out what you do next. Like, you got to know what that's supposed to be so you know how to build it with the long path in mind, if that makes sense. All right, so if you have homesteads or some kind of animal, like you're doing some kind of garden, you've got some kind of responsibility, you probably have jobs. Like, has it ever felt like sometimes you're just like putting out fires constantly? Like, that's what it feels like for me sometimes. Like, I'm like, man, even when I'll get something done and think I'm doing good. Like, oh, I just finished this project in the garden. I'm like, check that off the list. Hey, Jess, I just finished this project in the garden. She said, hey, this thing's going on over here. This water spigot broke off. It's shooting straight up in the sky, and I don't know how to do anything about it. And I'm like, okay. I was feeling good. I put that fire out. I got to go put out another fire. And it's just like I'm running around. I just feel like I'm a firefighter and not a builder. Does anyone relate to that? Where you just feel like you're going from one crisis to the next, to the next, to the next. And the thing is that you have to be able to admit that and realize it, and then identify why are you in that place. All right? I'm not just preaching to you. I'm telling you from my personal experience of our crushing summer. Like, this is what I'm learning. I don't want to be a firefighter. I love firefighters. Thank you for what you guys do. I'm not dogging firefighters. I don't want to be that in my life. Okay, I want to build for longevity. I want to build. I want to be a builder. I want to create. Go ahead. Okay, sorry. All right, so the difference is instead of surviving the moment, okay, you want to sustain the vision. And so that is only going to come with intentionality. So setting your plans, setting your goals, and building things with intention and for them to last. That kind of, again, ties into what I was saying. So when you're building stuff, a lot of times people like to, well, we'll put it this way. My experience, the most fires come when I'm trying to cut corners. I don't know if anyone else has ever cut corners before. Some things you definitely don't want to cut corners on. Oh, that, framing doesn't have to be like that. We'll probably be fine. But you definitely want to make sure that you're not cutting corners and stuff, because it's been my experience that in doing that, like, you actually end up costing yourself more. So you want to build resilient systems, you want to build stuff well. So, for example, fencing is an easy thing to explain this one. Let's say you're getting into, okay, you've done your plan, you know what you want to go to, your first step is get goats. I don't recommend that. That's not my recommendation. That's a hard animal to get confidence on. But let's just say you're a glutton for pain, like, go with goats. They'll teach you a lot real quick. So let's say you're going with goats, and you're like, okay, here's the right way to do it. You check Roots and Refuge or Myers Workshop video, and they're like, okay, this is what they recommend. It's woven wire fence. It's these kind of H-braces. You want to do it this way. It's going to cost this much. This is the right way to do it. Trust me, we've been there. We tried it the other way. It doesn't work. Do it this way. But it's going to cost this much. So then you have to assess, well, can I afford that? Okay, and you have to make that decision. Can I afford to do it the right way? And so a lot of people are like, well, if I take this welded wire fence and I roll it out and I nail it to this tree and then I roll it over here, I don't have to buy posts. So I just save myself a ton of money. Right now. Right? And then the goats are going to push up against that welded wire fence. All those little welds are going to pop, which then just going to be a spaghetti fence. Right? It's not going to keep, it won't even keep trees in it, weeds. It's like it keeps nothing in. And they'll do it quick, because welded wire is cheap. right? Once they don't top your fence, guess what they do? They get out, they're going to eat stuff that they shouldn't eat, they're going to be like, why are you sick? Okay, then you have to figure, and it spirals. Your time, okay, how much time are you going to spend trying to fix that fence? Okay, the tree, guess what trees do? They grow. When trees grow, they have the fences, they don't stay tight, you know, they mess up. So like in doing that, like you're literally costing yourself resources, and the most valuable resource that we all have is the one you cannot create more of, time. You only have so much time. You can exchange time for resources, you can exchange time for influence, you can exchange your time for money, but you will never get more time. So that's what I've learned to protect the most. And I've learned how to protect that by doing things the right way and assessing the cost and spending, you know, and literally I've had to tell myself, you know what, I can't do this. I can't do it right, so I'm going to have to wait. I'm going to have to plan. I'm going to have to adjust my plan or adjust the size or the scale of something I'm wanting to do so I can do it the right way. Because you will cost yourself. Because after all that's said and done, your goats get out, all that stuff happens, guess what you still have to do at the end of it? You're back to where you started. You've got to build the fence again. Now you got to go back to my workshop video and look at the video again and be like, oh, you're right, I should have done it this way. And then you're going to be right back there again. Right? And then, I mean, obviously, if you go way back to like Roots and Refuge videos, you'll see how we did it wrong. Because we did it a lot wrong. I mean, let's bring up, the first time we brought home pigs, what a fiasco. It was so bad. I mean, that was one of the, I wish I had had someone to tell me, you don't need to get into pigs right now.
Yeah, actually, y'all want to hear the story? This is the Cliff Notes. We drive up to Missouri, we get these pigs. We drive home to Arkansas. And then at 5 in the morning, okay, we get home in the wee hours because we didn't plan the trip well. We don't have a pen put together.
I'm having anxiety just listening to you talk about it.
Didn't plan that well. And so we get home and we had driven for these Megalitas, these pure pigs, and we paid like $300 a piglet, which was, it is a lot of money for a piglet, and that was a lot of money for us for anything. And so we paid this much for these piglets, and we get out, and one of the females takes off in the woods. We're surrounded by 1,000 acres of unoccupied property at this farm. Okay? 5 a.m. We're in the field next door, don't own it. We have cornered the piglet for about the 3rd time in the wee hours. We have not slept. My shirt is off. People say, why didn't you video this? I don't make that kind of video.
We ain't that kind of channel, you know what I'm saying? She had nothing but her, what do you call that, a procedure? That was it. Okay, so she's like this. I'm sticking up behind it, and like literally, like I dive for it, it jumps, I freaking grab a leg, I'm holding on, it's freaking so we finally catch the piglet, we put it back in, we just look at each other, and like with no words spoken, we're like, we are so dumb. And we're just like, we say nothing. We just turn and go to the house, take a shower, and go to bed. And that was it. Like, we weren't prepared. The thing is like, we were not prepared because we just didn't think it through. I didn't even know how to do that, right? So build slow, build intentionally, consider those details. Like, really, like, take the time to slow down and be like, okay, what is this really going to do it right? Okay, sometimes it's okay to cut, like I said yesterday, sometimes you just have a fire you can't avoid. It wasn't your fault. Things happen. Okay, you're doing something goes wrong, you make a mistake, you gotta fix it, that's fine. But if you're constantly living in that state, your mental resource is being used up. I mean, seriously, like when we had pigs like that and I could not contain them well, I lived in just like a constant state of anxiety. I'm like, God, I hope they don't get out today. But please, just not today. I just want to do something else, right? So last thing is like, there's a proper order. Get your fences in order. Understand what kind of structure they need. What kind of food are they going to need? What kind of medication? What are the problems that can arise? Like goats can get it. Like there are little wild plants out in your woods that if a goat eats will kill it. You have to know this. Like you have to be able to identify it, right? Because you have to know how often it rotates. I mean, there's so much detail. Prepare. This is why we say your waiting room is your classroom, because you want to get off about stupid and get into the pit of despair so that you can actually start building that confidence and get out of that and build intentionally. So proper order protects your resources, protects your time, protects your mental capacity, and your ability to show up every day. Okay, because when in those states, I will tell you this is honestly true, and I'm glad I'm not in there now. When I was in that place, my emotional availability to my family was completely zapped. Okay, I might be able to have enough to stay focused and get the pig back in the pen and handle this, and I would come back in, and Ben and Ezra told me you need something, and I'm like, snappy, frustrated, tired, right? And then I had no capacity for that. So protect your resources by building slow, building intentionally, and doing it in the proper order.
And with this, when you're building for longevity, building costs something. And so when Jeremiah's talking about build good fences, this is an example. Y'all can apply this. I mean, you have the ears to hear this and apply it to any number of things in your life. You may want to start a business. You may want to You might want to jump off into a move. We wanted to move to South Carolina for 3 years before we did. But whenever we felt that was the direction the Lord was leading us into, and we felt very strongly it wasn't a go right now thing, it was a go in order thing. Get yourself in order. We sat down and we said we need to pay off debt. We need to get our house fixed to where we can sell it. We had a list of the things that was the proper order. Proper order always protects resources. And so if you want to have resilience in your life, you cannot have the weak spots of getting out of the proper order of things, because that is creating a weak spot where you don't have resilience. You are not going to be able to stretch back and hold your form. And when pressure comes in whatever form that it comes, that is where you will be broken, because you will pay to build. You will pay with your money, with your mind, with your resources, with your emotional capacity. You will pay with the time you have with your family. You'll pay with your sleep. You'll pay with your peace. And of all of those things, I'm telling you, like, the money thing is the least important. And I know that we as a culture put money at the height of things. That's the society we live in, where money is the God of our society. But he is not the God of our house. And he doesn't have to be the God. Money does not have to be the God of your house. So when you say, I have a vision, I have something in my heart that I feel called to build, don't turn to money to ask you how to do it. Because if you do, you'll start cutting corners and you will lose longevity, you will lose vision. Always, always serve and sustain the vision instead of surviving the moment. Okay? Next point, number 2. We are going to have to go a little faster. No.
Hey, we're the last talk. We don't actually have to go that fast. Y'all good?
Know what you need. Okay? When I was a little kid, I was a little obsessive about things, so mention that. And I would get really fixated on things that I wanted. Mom, I need this. And I would say that I need this. My mom loves to tell the story of when I was a teenager and I came home and I was like, Mom, I need $30. And she was like, okay. No question, she gave me $30. And then I come home and I have my nose pierced. And she was like, what is this? And she was like, is that what the $30 was for? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, we have very different ideas of what the word need means.
Like Ben? Ben. You know that?
Ben is me, made over, just so you know.
He needed this battle axe. He just needed the battle axe.
But I joke about that, but know what you need. Okay, be able to really look inside yourself and say, do I really, really need this? Now, let me tell you something. There are going to be times that you have desires in your heart. You do not have to justify wanting something. Wanting something is good. And obviously we're Christians, we talk about God a lot. I always say this, and I didn't say it when we started. I'm going to reference, biblical teaching and stuff like that. It's the compass by which we live. If that's not your compass, please don't walk away, because it's ours. We love you, and we hope you'll stay here and gain value from what we say. But for me, I had to learn the difference. I don't have to justify the desires of my heart as a need for them to be valid, because God sees the desires of our heart, and that actually matters very much to him. And I believe when we're partnered with him, he puts the desires of our heart in our heart, that he could give them to us, and we would know him through that. But when we're talking about resilience and we're talking about preparedness, a lot of what we're building is not what we need, okay? And we really sit down and have the boldness to identify in 2 columns what is a need and what is a desire. There will be some overlap, and that's okay. When I first got goats, I had dreamed of having spotted goats for years and years and years. And we couldn't afford to buy goats. And we ended up with a situation where Jeremiah's brother got a job, and we were able to barter some work with this family. And his brother called us and said, hey, they need the demo done. If you guys come do it, they pay you in goats. And we're like, we're in. You know, like we really wanted to get into goats. And I said, what kind? And he's like, I don't know. I know they milk them. So I have no idea what the breed is. I've been obsessed with this for years. And we show up, and these spotted Nubian goats, the exact breed and look of goat that I had dreamed of for years, come walking across the field, and I started crying. It reminded me of Sweet Home Alabama when the guy takes her into Tiffany's and turns the light on and said, pick whichever ones you want. I felt like that was that for me. It was these amazing goats. And so I say that, I tell you that story because I really felt like that was the kindness of the Lord. And we were trying to grow our own food. We needed a dairy source if we were going to grow our own food. The fact that they were spotted Nubians was purely the desire of my heart. There will be times that there's crossover. But what happens when we get mixed up, when we say we need to start growing our own food because we need to have resilience, and we don't know why we're driven. We don't know if it's what we need or what we want. We don't know where to give God the glory because of fulfilling things. We don't clearly have an idea around what the need is. So make a plan and know what you actually need. You know what will serve your family. We sit down and we say, okay, what meat do we need to grow? What food do we need to grow? How are we going to have, are we going to do bees again? Are we going to have honey? Make a plan and make it serve you. And in your life, that's going to change. Assess it regularly. Because when you know what you need, you know what you're working for, and it allows you to assess your systems and let things go. It is completely okay to say no to the things that do not align with what you need and with your plan.
I mean, I think that's just good advice in general. I think as people, we have a hard time saying no. We have a hard time saying no to the things that we want. Like, sometimes I just really want to eat ice cream. That doesn't mean I should do that every time I want to. That's not as healthy, apparently, as Jessica is informing me. I understand, you gotta learn how to say no, but here's something we've learned coming out of 2024, just because we get an invitation doesn't mean we have to say yes, right? So we go do this thing. Man, we like those people, we enjoy their company, but we've had to learn, you know what, this is not aligning with what we know we're supposed to be doing right now. No, we can't go to that. It's not personal. You can stay connected to people. You can also say, hey, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have people over. I don't want to go somewhere. No, I don't want to go on this trip. FOMO's real. I'm sure there's people right now who are I wish I was at that conference hearing just my talk. But maybe what was best for them was to say, no, I don't need to go to Covington and spend the money it takes to come here to hear this. That might have been what was best, and that's hard to do. But you did the right thing. You did the superior thing. It's hard to say no. I have a hard time saying no. I am the biggest sucker for a sales pitch. That's why I don't go around to all your booths. Because seriously, you think Jessica buys stuff and there's the Hoover vacuum or the Kirby vacuum salesman that gets me every time. At this point, I have 3 Kirby's. I don't even need Kirby's. I don't really have any carpet. But they're you know what? You're a big salesman. Here's my money.
You should tell them what actually happened when the Kirby vacuum person came.
I don't remember. I blocked it out. What happened?
Seriously, have y'all ever seen the Kirby vacuum sales pitch? The Kirby vacuum person came to our house, and Jeremiah is genuinely the biggest sucker for a sales pitch.
I'm not exaggerating. This is true.
It's a big issue early in our marriage. It's not now because we live in the country. Nobody shows up and tries to sell us anything. But it's not because he got better. But the Kirby vacuum person came.
I just isolated.
And they're there, and I know this man is about to sign us up for a payment on a vacuum, and I'm over there don't do it. And I'm over there looking on eBay, and I'm absolutely not. I'm texting him, and I'm I'm not joking, Jeremiah. No. And finally he says no to the guy. I'm no, sorry, you gotta go. And I'm they're on eBay for $150. So I was
it was $1,300 from the salesman. And I was I gotta do it. I can't miss this opportunity. We gotta do it. So I've learned. I just don't go get the sales pitches. I would have bought one of everything from every vendor that's here. If I give them enough time to pitch me on it, it's probably a good product.
Right, so we know ourselves. Seriously though, the yeses that you have in your life, have to be protected with a no. I know that no is hard to say sometimes. I know that not right now is hard to say sometimes. But if you are a person that is a sucker to your FOMO, if you are a person that believes you're going to miss out on an opportunity to do something all the time, and you're constantly saying yes to everything, there are some certain yeses that need to be said in your life for you to have a resilient life. You need to say yes to your marriage. You need to say yes to your children. You need to say yes to the relationships
It's not
that sustain
everything.
you.
Not everything they say.
Well, no, but I mean, you need to give them the time that they need. You need to pour into the relationship so that they ultimately know that they have your preference. You need to say yes and protect and hem in the energy and the resources that are going to actually build resilience in your life. And if you don't deal with the lack mentality that is within yourself, you will find yourself constantly in a hamster wheel of not enough. Because, and this leads me into our next point. Know what you need, and also cultivate within yourself a culture of enough. Okay? This is very countercultural. In other words, practice contentment. Okay? We live in a world where there are multi-billion-dollar ad campaigns where people sit at tables and talk about how to make us spend the money we have and the money we don't have. Okay? And what they are playing on is the psychology that we can be convinced that we do not have enough. Okay? It's called lack mentality. The world is an abundant place. It was designed that way. Yahweh God did not design the earth to be in lack. If you have grown a garden for more than a year, the first year you might actually believe that there's still lack. The first year, you may actually be like, I don't really know about this. I always tell people, in your first year in the garden, harvest wisdom and understand you're growing a gardener. But by year 2, by year 3, you are convinced of abundance.
Yeah, you've taken that tomato down from $15 to about $3.50 per tomato.
So with the garden, come on, Sowards. So with the garden teaching us what abundance there is, I want you to apply that all around. The best things in life genuinely do not cost money. Okay? The best things in life are not, really, most of the things in life that are the most valuable to us are not coming to us by sales pitch. They're not coming to us with pressure. You better jump on now. This is a limited time opportunity. The best things in life are grown organically by showing up day after day, by saying yes to something when you could have said no. A sustainable lifestyle is made once you make a decision that you're going to go after it, and then you make that decision another 5,000 times when offered more convenient options. Okay? And so when you want to say yes to resilience, and you want to say yes to actually meeting your needs and living a life where they are met, where there is security, where there is safety, you should cultivate contentment and do not fall for this lie that we are fed all the time, that there's more that we need. Because for the most part, if we will settle into right now and steward what's in our hand, we will find that it is quite enough. And yes, there are things that we may desire. Yes, there's growth that we may desire. But the way we get to more is we steward what we have. And we steward it with gratitude. We practice gratitude. And in that, we practice joy. And in that, all of these things come because we practice presence. Do you realize that in all of your life, okay, right now you are in tent B at the Homestead Festival. Here in this field at Rory's Farm in Tennessee, you will never be in this exact moment ever again. We will never all be together exactly like this ever again. Of all of time, we could try to bring every person that is under this tent back together. This will never happen again. Okay, so our minds can be on where we're going, our minds can be on where we've been, but wow, we are always experiencing a configuration of humanity that we'll never experience again. And that can become the most holy thing. We can be so fully content with the opportunity we have to connect with the people in front of us and steward what we have today if we will allow ourselves to be in that. But if we are believing the lie that we need to worry and think about all the things we don't have and try harder and strive harder, it will rob us of the richness of right now.
All right, so point 4. All right, I'm going to be speaking to the masculine presence. And that may not always be male. And what I'm saying is that, like, if you're on your own, like, you have to do both. Like, if you're the one building the stuff and you're the one that's having to manage it, then I'm speaking to you also. But it's that presence, all right? That whoever is embodying that for whatever you're setting out to do in your life. All right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Bringing order with presence. That person is required to be present and to be grounded in themselves in order for the order of your property, the order of your family unit to be in order. They cannot be in order if you are not. They cannot be present if you are not. Like, this is what it means to be the man. This is what it means to be the masculine. Like, it does fall on you. This is going out and working a job and being the provider, that is important. But that is actually, in my opinion, not the hardest part of what you are required to do. It is actually to deal with yourself to a point that you can be present. You're not checked out. You're not unfunctional, unpresent. Like, that's the hardest part. Why is it important? Because a strong family is resilient. Okay? My family is resilient because I'm present. I allow them, and I'm present enough to teach them how to build this in themselves. And here's the other big thing. Because I stay present, because I give them the space to do that, I give Jessica the space to express and to be who she is, right? When I have a moment where I'm not actually the strong, I'm the weakest link, like, I'm able to come to them and be weak, right? We're not being honest with ourselves, men, by pretending, and it's pretending. There's some tough guys here. I understand, you're tough, I'm tough, we're all tough. But if we're being honest, like, you're not okay all the time. Like, it's not true. Like, it's just a story that we tell ourselves because that's what we're supposed to do. Oh, never show weakness, never show emotion, never show that, you know what, I'm really not okay, right? And I understand, like, we are uniquely equipped to be able to handle a lot, to stay composed in stressful situations, to make decisions when it's intense. But that doesn't mean that you're okay all the time. And if you are not present enough to give her security, to give your kids security, when you really do need a moment to say, hey, this is not my day. I need to just process. I need to just take a breath and feel that weight come off, right? They'll be there if you can do your part. Does that make sense? Because, like, it's true. You need help. You need to be able to say, hey, some of the biggest growth I've had with me and my sons is whenever I've got to my limit, I snap, I say something, I'm frustrated, and then I come to them and I give them up and I say, hey guys, I'm sorry. One, I'll own my mistake. Okay, I'm sorry I snapped. I'm sorry I said this. I'm having a moment. Here's what's going on in my life. And I'm not using them as like a counselor. I'm just saying, hey, I want to bring you into what's going on. Y'all did not, as children, you didn't understand that this was happening. This is what's going on. This is what happened today. And this is why I'm in this place. And they're like, hey, Dad, it's okay. We're sorry that we did this. And then we literally have this and I'm teaching them, hey, it's okay that you're not okay sometimes. It's okay that you need to go and talk about it and be emotional about it and let that come up in a safe space. Because a chain, this is so cliche, but it is applicable. A chain is as strong as what? Weakest link. What we don't actually are largely unwilling to admit is that a lot of times the masculine is the weakest link because they will never act like they are not okay. But really what that means is that when you get into an intense situation, actually, I wrote something, hold on. Yeah, so deal with yourself, right? Let that stuff, sit with yourself. Talk to you, deal with what's going on inside of you honestly because it brings presence. Because repressed issues are landmines under pressure, all right? So let's say you get into that intense situation. Who knows? I don't know what situations we're going to find ourselves in. I mean, honestly, some people it's thrust upon them. A tornado hit. something happens, like, a guy pulls a gun on something. I'm just saying, like, think of all the scenarios that people never thought they would find themselves in that literally goes from 1 to 100. If you have undealt with stuff inside of you, that is a landmine of sound mind, sound decision making, and action whenever it gets intense. All right? If you want to stay present and make sound decisions and make good decisions and do what's best for the in the moment, you have to deal with what's going on internally. I understand that this is not the most fun thing to talk about. All right? Especially as guys, we have been conditioned, in my opinion, brainwashed, programmed, whatever. We don't feel, we'll just go in. I mean, seriously, we'll just work 50 hours a week, come home, be present, do the best we can there, and just day in and day out, just grind forever, never talking about, you know what, I'm having a bad day. You know what, I'm feeling this. You know what, I need a break. Or, because you feel like it's communicating weakness, and I'm telling you, I was there, but I'm not there anymore. Being willing, even right now, even me calling, challenging you guys to step up is exposing myself the fact that it's okay to feel. It's okay to say, hey, you know what? I need help. I need to cry. You gotta get in touch with this stuff. I'm not saying you don't turn into a crybaby. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you take the cap off of the emotions and all of a sudden you can't function. But if you never express, it just stays inside. Then you get it put into a situation that you have to be able to stay present and sound. And man, it's like trying to dodge landmines. And the thing about landmines is you don't know where they're at. And when one goes off, I know I see some faces this is hitting with some people. You know what those are. You've seen one. You remember. You're like, man, how did I get that? How did I respond that way? Because there was a landmine of undealt with issues that you just keep bottled up, and it comes out whenever it gets too much. Right? Let's deal with that. So that way, whenever we can deal with intense situations, then also we can deal with long work days and be present for our kids afterwards. Right? We can deal with, our wives' emotions that feel like they're raging all the time. That's true. Don't laugh. You don't know that. That's absolutely the truth. That's the truth of the Lord God. You guys, that is who you're supposed to be. It's who you're supposed to be. Because that makes us feel uncomfortable, we tell you to stop. Because that challenges us. Okay? It challenges us for you to have all that feeling and all that emotion. Because shoot, we don't even know what emotions we're feeling. Right? And you're just right? But if you'll learn to be present, if you'll learn to deal with this stuff, you'll actually learn that really what she wants is she doesn't need your carpentry skills to fix it. It's not a fixing situation, it's a presence thing. Okay? If she can feel safe to express whatever it is, right? And the storm gets let out, the Mentos in the Coke bottle goes off. And she bounces around the room, and then she settles down. She'll be literally, I've seen it happen to Jessica. She'll literally just take a breath and be like, wow. And then she feels so connected. She feels heard. She feels seen. You're doing it right now. See? Hey, I brought a demonstration. There you go. So, I know that this is complicated, okay? But here's the thing that men, go out and get the information. Okay, there's Instagram accounts, there are books, okay? There are resources. Be as aggressive in getting this information to get this dealt with within yourself as you are passionate about, the next AR-15 build. Or, the Dallas Cowboys. Good Lord. Whatever it is, we know how to be passionate about stuff, okay? But let's take some of that and funnel it towards making ourselves whole and being okay with who we actually are, not who society or culture or your dad or whatever, your friends at work, but told you have to be. Okay, let's just be who we actually are. Honesty and transparency, vulnerability builds the foundation of being able to stay present. And if you can stay present, you can have resilience. How about that?
Truly, a resilient family is a family that it's not a perfect family. It's not a family that does everything right. It's a family that is present and they bring their real selves to the table, okay? In our house, we really value truth-telling. What that means is that we don't get to make somebody else's reality about us. We have to stop sometimes and not react. We have to respond. Sometimes we have to be quiet, and we have to recognize that the relationship is the most important thing. How we feel about something is not the most important thing. It's connection over everything else. Jeremiah and I built a family out of the broken pieces of our past attempts. We are blended. We both got married right out of high school. We're divorced 5 years later, and then that's where we met up. We came with a lot of baggage, even at the age we were. We were still young when we got married, but we came with a lot of baggage. And what we have learned is when we have conflict, our highest goal can never be being right. It has to be connection and relationship. And throughout our whole family, that has to be the goal. Because if you want resilience as a family, connection and relationship has to be the highest goal under absolutely all circumstances, no matter what. This is non-negotiable. Always connection. Always the truth. We must be truth seekers, period. And we'll get all tangled up on arguing what the truth is, but then whenever our kid comes to us and says, that was scary, we say, that wasn't scary. We argue with the truth of someone's experience when they tell it to us absolutely all the time, and we are nicking away at the resilience of our connection. And an unconnected, a disjointed family that does not trust that they are safe in their imperfect presence is not strong. It's not resilient, and it may seem tough, but it breaks under pressure. There's a reason why whenever couples lose a child, the divorce rates are so high. There's a reason why whenever people go through catastrophic events, it so often splinters them apart. Because they were not able, and a lot of times it's generational. I'm not pinpointing somebody as this is a failure. I'm saying that as a culture, we have not taught people to value their families above absolutely any other comfort they may seek. Because family is absolutely uncomfortable. Being in relationship is absolutely uncomfortable. Jeremiah's sisters are here. This is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to be married sometimes.
Preach.
I'll ask you right now. We did not rehearse this. What's the hardest thing you have ever done?
Be married to Jessica.
Seriously.
God told me once it was like climbing Mount Everest. And it's true.
What's the best thing that you've ever done?
Be married to Jessica. Facts. Because she's challenging. Jessica never settles. Okay, she never has. She's never known how to. Like, still now. Like, she's giving this talk and also thinking about all the things we're going to do when we get home. It's just how her brain is always going. She never settles, and so, like, she's never allowed us to settle. And that passion for each other has held us together, but it's the refusal to just be content with that in our relationship. Like, oh, this is just how it is. How many times do we tell ourselves that? Well, I guess this is just how it is. This is how retirement is, or this is how our kids will be. Well, this is how this is going to be. But, like, you're still settling. There's always more. There's always more depth in every relationship. Okay, you're never... The confidence, not stupid thing, as far as relationships goes, like, there's always more. There's always more depth. There's always something you could be more connected on, that you could be doing better on.
And there is this place, and I understand for a lot of people, you may be living with brokenness in your family. And that is a terribly difficult pain to live with. So here's how you deal with that, okay? And with all these things, you may be carrying a dream. I was talking to someone earlier, and there's a scripture that is just so relevant. I think about it a lot when I'm at places like this, because there's so many people I talk to, and I see the desire in their eyes when they talk about their dream for a farm. The desire in their eyes when they talk about their dream for a spouse. there is this tension between contentment with the reality of today while still having expectation and hope for tomorrow. You can exist in both, but it is deeply uncomfortable. Okay? This is why having the comforter helps. If you are constantly looking to make your life comfortable, you will not grow. Period. Nobody goes to the gym because it's comfy. They go to the gym because they want to be stronger, because they want to live longer, because they want to feel better about themselves. They go and intentionally dive into discomfort because what discomfort produces is the cultivator of our hearts to be uncomfortable and not walk away from it. So get in the discomfort of relationship. This does not mean impale yourself upon toxic people who have shown you time and again that they will not change. That's not what I'm talking about. Sometimes you need to get in the discomfort of boundaries when it comes to situations like that.
Say no.
Say no. Protect your yes. But if you want resilience in your life, relationship as the highest thing. This is ultimately, if you tell me that you are a believer in Christ, you're a believer in God. God is love. Therefore, relationship must be the highest why of what we do. Amen. If love is not it, if it is loving and being loved is not the highest why of what we do, we need to reevaluate what is on the throne of our hearts. But the discomfort and the growth that comes when we deal with ourselves and we choose relationship will absolutely mean that it does not matter what pressure we are put on by this life we live in skin, what is inside of us will be absolutely unchanging. That leads me to the last point, which is, and this is, I'm going to go really quick here.
Y'all good? Yeah. Hey, stop stressing about time.
And I'm going to specifically talk about this issue. We're talking about dealing with your issues, and they may be a lot. Now, I love what Jeremiah said about, go after these resources. If you recognize that you need healing, it doesn't need to be instantaneous. It's like all these other things, one piece of paper at a time. Little bits of healing, little bits of understanding. If you got it all at once, you wouldn't be able to process it. Okay, so just go after it little bits at a time and don't believe that you're failing. But the biggest thing that I have to speak to is fear. Because the absolute enemy of love is not hate, it is fear. Hate is the fruit of fear. Okay? Fear will come and convince you that everything that we have said is not even worth trying because you're already a failure. It will convince you that you can't make a difference. It will remind you of everything that you've ever thought you were that was bad, and it will tell you that that's the truth. Fear is an absolute liar, and love will never tell you that you have to stay unsafe, that you have to stay weak. Love will never tell you that your family is not worth the discomfort of pursuing them. We live in a very wild time to be alive. I'm glad we're doing homesteading festivals because I think it's vastly important that we grow food, not just so we can survive, but so we can thrive day to day. I want to eat what comes off my farm, not what's in the grocery store being pushed by corporations that want to make money at the cost of my children's health. Okay? But ultimately, if I were afraid of the food in the grocery store and I were afraid of what was going on in the world around me and I was being pushed by fear, in every decision that I did, I could do all the right things and reap a harvest that's not what I was trying to grow. There's a story, I've shared this story before, but I think it's one of the best images, and if I leave you with anything at the end of this beautiful conference where I'm sure you got tons of information and inspiration, it's this. There was a woman, and she was sitting in the old city of Jerusalem at a table at a cafe. I heard this story from this woman, and it impacted me so much. I heard it from a girl that this woman had mentored, Anyway, this woman told this story. And she was sitting at this table in a cafe, and she heard what she thought at first was a group of women screaming. She panicked, and she started to look around and said, "What is this? What is this screaming?" She looked, and she realized it wasn't women, it was actually sheep. Have you ever heard a sheep scream? Yeah, it kind of sounds goats too. Like if you hear it from a distance, it kind of sounds like a woman screaming. And this man was driving these sheep down this really narrow way. this narrow alley. You know, this old city was not built for cars, and so it's really narrow. And the sheep were just screaming, and he's just jabbing them and ramming them with his staff. And the woman looks at the waitress and she says, "Why is that shepherd handling those sheep so roughly?" And the waitress looks at her and looks back and she goes, "Oh, that's not the shepherd, that's the butcher." If you are feeling the scream rise up in you, the panic rise up in you, I would beg you to notice you are not being led by wisdom, you are being driven by fear, and it will never take you anywhere that you want to go. There is a voice of truth that is speaking to the hearts of so many people in this country and across the world right now, and I know because I have a front seat. If you feel for a moment that we are hopeless as a generation, let me be the one to tell you we are absolutely not. And if 120 people tarrying in an upper room who believed a word that they met from a man who lived in skin and ministry for 3 years could put the movement of Christianity on the move through this earth, what can this many people do who want to see change in the world? We are not a small people. We are not a people with values who are without power. We are people who say it is worth it to care for our families, to grow our food, to believe that we have enough, to not fall for the mainstream lie that we must work our lives away, retire at 60, die at 70 of heart disease, live on pharmaceutical medicines, and be disconnected and unpresent from our families and our homes with our eyes tied to a screen that is literally just being paid to tell us what else we should work for. God, what a lie. Don't let that shove you through your life. That is not the truth. So when you feel the little whisper that tells you that there is something more for you, that leading that invites you into a quiet walk along still water, follow it. So that is how you have yourself.
There you go, 5 easy steps, guys. Folks, if you back to the next chair, we'll be like, hey, we're doing this all perfectly. So hey, honestly though, thank you guys for coming out, supporting the glorious conference, for this festival, supporting us, for loving on our kids. If you didn't get a chance to come talk to us, please come say hi, shake our hand, this is how we met.
We're also wanting to take a picture.